Hey guys, welcome to today's video. We're going to be going over the San Francisco 49ers, their trade up to the third overall pick, and which quarterback they should draft. Should it be Mac Jones? Should it be Justin Fields? Should it be Trey Lance? We're going to break all of that down in today's video. Before we get started though, please drop a quick like and a sub on today's video. That would really help my channel grow. I'd really appreciate that. With that said, let's dive right into the video, and I hope you enjoy. So I think it's pretty obvious that the San Francisco 49ers, they're going up there for a quarterback. They traded a ton of draft picks to go up to number 3 with the Miami Dolphins to go out and get a quarterback because Jimmy Garoppolo simply isn't the answer long term. So, you know what? They're going to try and go out and get a quarterback. And I think we can establish that Trevor Lawrence will go 1, Zach Wilson will go number 2, which will leave the 49ers the option of guys like Mac Jones, Trey Lance, and Justin Fields. And in today's video, we're going to break all of that down. Let's start with why Trey Lance is a good option and why, it looks like the 49ers are going to go after Trey Lance. And I think Daniel Jeremiah actually says some really interesting stuff here. So for starters, Trey Lance, I think, could fit really well in San Francisco for a few reasons. One, the 49ers had kind of made it clear that they want to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, which is kind of interesting, and I kind of think that's not really what's going to happen. But, if they decide to keep Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance is the perfect guy to get at quarterback for a variety of reasons. Number one, I think he's the most raw out of Fields and Mac Jones. I think he's the least NFL ready currently, and therefore it's smart to keep Garoppolo, who's, he's a legit starting quarterback in the NFL. He can start, and you can get a guy like Trey Lance to sit behind him for a year, just learn a little bit, just get ready for the NFL game, and then the next season he can step up into the starting role. That would make sense. Also, a guy like Trey Lance, he's got everything too. He's a prototypical modern day quarterback. Big arm, elite mobility, huge size. And in that way, he kind of reminds me a little bit of Josh Allen. A little bit raw coming out of college, but freakish athleticism, really uses his athletic abilities to his advantage. And I think that would be really scary in Shanahan's offense. I mean, what he's able to do with motion, especially, and I'm going to talk about this with Justin Fields, why I think Justin Fields could work in Kyle Shanahan's offense too. But the ability to use a quarterback with motion in Kyle Shanahan's offense, where he likes to use his running backs, he likes to use George Kittle as a tight end, he likes to use, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk as faster guys, gadget players. But if you can add a motion at quarterback too, I think that could light the 49ers offense up. So that's why I think a guy like Trey Lance could work. And I also think that they're kind of all in on Trey Lance for a few reasons. For starters, they made this trade before the Justin Fields pro day. Just put that into perspective for a second. So that means that they didn't even see Justin Fields pro day, and they thought that they made this trade after Trey Lance's pro day, before Justin Fields' pro day. It was also after Mac Jones's pro day. Don't forget about that. But I think Mac Jones is the clear number 5 guy, but Trey Lance as a number 3, maybe number 4 quarterback in this draft, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I know that Chris Sims, he talked a little bit about why a guy like Mac Jones might be the option for the 49ers. Sorry that my face cam keeps freezing. That's my bad. That's just a glitch. But overall, I just think that, it just makes sense. Trey Lance going to the Bay Area. He's a mobile quarterback. I think he could really work in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and he could sit, especially if Jimmy Garoppolo was the guy there, and if they wanted to keep him going into next season, which is what they've said they had. Now, though, let's talk about a guy like Justin Fields and why that would work. So this article talks about, San Francisco 49ers made this trade up to draft Justin Fields. And I think Justin Fields would absolutely work in the 49ers offense. I think he's probably the most ready out of any of these quarterbacks, maybe the second most ready after Mac Jones. I just love what Justin Fields has to bring. I argue that he's probably a better scrambler. Actually, no, I don't know if he's a better scrambler than Trey Lance, but I like his arm. I like his accuracy. The thing with Justin Fields is he's really accurate. And I think he's another guy where if his arm doesn't work out, he could end up being a really good runner too. But I think his arm is above average. I like what he brings to the table. And once again, it's all about the motion. It's all about what you can do with a mobile quarterback in that offense. I think that could be really scary, with the running backs there, the 2 running back sets that Kyle Shanahan likes to use, the use of the tight end, George Kittle, getting some gadget players on the outside. That's all what Justin Fields can do. And I really like what Justin Fields did at Ohio State. I think he's going a little bit under the radar, and I think the only reason that he's going under the radar is because he struggled against Northwestern. He struggled in the national championship game, but I mean he was injured in that game, and I think that at the end of the day, Justin Fields is arguably still the number 2 quarterback prospect in this draft. I think he's a complete player. I think he's a modern day quarterback, and although he's a little bit on the smaller side, a little bit smaller stature, I still think that overall at the end of the day, he's a home run pick, I think. And there is apparently a team that has like a 4th round grade on him. I've seen that report, but nonetheless, I think that Justin Fields would still be an excellent selection because it's all about using. I think he's more ready right now than Trey Lance. It's really how quickly do you want to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo? If you want to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo like right now, which I don't think the 49ers do want to do, then I think that they should go out and get Justin Fields because I think Fields is more ready than a guy like Trey Lance. It's really that simple. But if they were more inclined to, wait on Jimmy Garoppolo, let him play another year, then Trey Lance is probably more of the option. But I think Fields is ready now. I think he could lead a team to a playoffs, especially with a good defense and with the players around him. And he's got a good offensive line there in San Francisco. But I think Fields, is another guy where that would make sense in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Now, though, let's take a little bit of a dive here into Mac Jones and why Mac Jones could be the player. And it's arguable. It is arguable. And I don't know if I buy this argument, but it's an argument here that I'm going to make that a guy like Mac Jones is the most ready quarterback of any of these 3 guys, of Justin Fields and Trey Lance. And it also, I think history should suggest that Shanahan and the 49ers are unlikely to take a guy like Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And it all goes back to Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, just Kyle Shanahan, my bad. Kyle Shanahan, his use of more pocket passers, not really mobile quarterbacks. We saw what he was able to do in Atlanta with Matt Ryan. We saw what he was able to do in obviously San Francisco with Jimmy Garoppolo. He's had a pretty good history with non-mobile quarterbacks, so that makes sense. Not getting a mobile quarterback. Plus, you add that Mac Jones is arguably the most ready quarterback prospect in this draft. You can make that argument. I think he's got the leadership. I think he's got the solid arm for that short intermediate passing game. Even in those throws in the second level, he doesn't have that elite arm, the big arm downfield that Fields or a guy like Trey Lance does. I think he really utilizes on his receivers to make plays downfield rather than his arm getting the ball into the right spot. I think I saw a little bit of that on film for him. But nonetheless, I think he could really fit in with this 49ers team too, because I think he could be a similar player to Jimmy Garoppolo in the fact that, pocket passer, solid quarterback, it fits what Kyle Shanahan has really done at the quarterback position in a while. And Justin Fields and Trey Lance are both quarterbacks that really run the football and really use their legs as big difference makers. And they're completely different than Mac Jones, who is a pure pocket passer. That's what he does. He's a pocket passer. And I think that, although he's super ready right now, and I think really Chris Sims, I think this is a really interesting quote from him on his Twitter page. Sorry that my camera keeps on freezing. That's just my bad once again. But I think Mac Jones, that would make sense. It would make sense because I think he's NFL ready. I think he is NFL ready just because, the leadership's there, the arm is there. I think he's so smart. I think he's probably the second or if not third smartest quarterback in this draft class after Trevor Lawrence. Maybe Zach Wilson's up there too. But I think he's smarter than Justin Fields. I think he's smarter than Trey Lance. And he's polished. I think he's going to get I think he's ready for the NFL right now. Obviously, he sat behind Tua Tagovailoa at Alabama. I mean, he's been in a good program there too. So he's got the winning culture. I think he's ready, and we saw that in the college football playoff. He had a fantastic season last year, one to rival almost Joe Burrow's from the season before. So at the end of the day, I think that Mac Jones is a really solid option. I think he's a solid option, but at the end of the day, I still think that they won't end up going with him, even though I could argue that he's the most NFL ready. And Kyle Shanahan has had a lot of success in the past with non-mobile quarterbacks, with pure pocket passers, and Mac Jones is that guy. He's that prototype. He's that Jimmy Garoppolo. I think I think he'll be a better version of Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think they gave up a lot of draft capital to go up and get a guy. So I don't know if Mac Jones is really going to be the guy. So although I do like talking about like history and Kyle Shanahan's use of non-mobile quarterbacks in the past and his success with non-mobile quarterbacks in the past, and I like giving him the Mac Jones. I might give them in a mock draft at some point. Mac Jones, might be crazy. San Francisco 49ers fans might, I don't know how they'll react. But At the end of the day, I still think it's going to be Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Those are the guys with the bigger upside. Those are the guys with the higher ceilings. And when you trade up, you give 2 future first-round picks for a franchise quarterback. I think it's going to be for a guy with more potential. It's not going to be with the safe pick, and I think Mac Jones is the safe pick. I also think Justin Fields is the safe pick, so I think Trey Lance would be the option, and it fits everything that the San Francisco 49ers have talked about this offseason. It's their talk about, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there next year. So if Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be there next year, I'm assuming he's as the starter because he's on a bigger contract. And I think Justin Fields is good enough to be a starter right now. The only guy that's probably not good enough to be a starter or is too raw to be a starter is Trey Lance. And if you put Trey Lance on the bench for a year, put him as the backup quarterback, let him sit behind Garoppolo, who's been to a Super Bowl, he's had playoff success, he's been on Super Bowl caliber teams, obviously with the Patriots, with the 49ers. He's got the experience, and he could really teach Trey Lance a lot. And then, Trey Lance comes in a little bit. He's been in the NFL for a year, hasn't played, but he's got the NFL experience a little bit. What it's like to be in the NFL. How quick the game moves in practice, and all these things. And then you could see him step up in year 2 and really excel. And we saw a guy like Patrick Mahomes do that, right? And I don't want to talk about every quarterback that sits a year to be like Patrick Mahomes, but that's the comparison. So with that said, I think Trey Lance is probably the pick for them at pick 3, and I think that's the reason they want the guy with the highest ceiling. And I think a guy like Trey Lance probably has the high ceiling. I think he's the most potential because he's the most untapped potential. And I think he's the most athletic quarterback out of those 3 guys. Biggest arm. I think he's got he can rival Justin Fields' mobility. He's just raw. He's just a little bit unpolished. But I think with a year on the bench behind a polished quarterback like Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that a guy like Trey Lance could really help that 49ers team out in the long run. And I think that would make a lot of sense for the San Francisco 49ers moving forward. So that said, I think that the 49ers would probably should go Trey Lance. I think Mac Jones would still be a good pick. I think Justin Fields would still be a great pick. But I think that they'll end up going Trey Lance. And with that said, that's pretty much going to end the video for today. Did you agree with my analysis? Why or why not? Leave your comments and thoughts in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Also, if you're new around here, please drop a like and a sub on today's video. I'd really appreciate that. And with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video. And until next time, see ya.